Hi, my name is Veronica Powell and welcome to Soulful Warrior Collective. Thank you so much for joining me today in one of a few classes that I've decided to do to just talk about the mechanics and show you in a slower way the foundations of core strength vinyasa yoga. So this is really useful to have a look at before doing the shred classes, which I highly recommend. They're great for metabolism boosting and cardio boosting. But these are the positions and the waves and the transitions that then move into the drills, which are revved up. So getting all of this in now with the foundation is a really good way to set yourself up for success for the shreds. So first things first, I'm sitting here in easy pose. So come join me in a comfortable position. You can also sit on a block, just to elevate those hips, which can be really nice, especially if you're going to sit for a little while. Speaking of blocks, I love blocks. I use these sometimes with a downward dog or positions where I'm down on my hands just to elevate, bring the ground up, let the shoulders have that nice lengthening and expansion. And also I usually use a block in the end portion with restorative poses. So blocks, always a great thing to have lying around. So here in easy pose, first things first, we're on our mat. So let's just take a moment here. Nice inhale through the nose, letting that belly expand, nice deep belly breathing. And then exhale, hug and lift, either exhale out the mouth or the nose. And here we are. Find those sits bones. I do a little shimmy, 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 because it feels good and you can feel where the sits bones are, and that's that grounding. So speaking of the grounding, that is part of the foundations on building of core strength vinyasa. So the idea is we find this softness through our body, that being the bending of the joints and therefore putting the strength and focus in on the muscles and letting the joints be nice and safe. So a softening, a grounding, finding wherever we are grounded. In this case, you can feel those sits bones and the thighs, and then you ground by pushing down, and then from there we have this core lift, which happens as a wave through the body as you lift up, protecting the lower back, breathing all the way through and out the mouth. And then you can find that true expression through your body. So with the inhales and the exhales, you're letting this inflation happen. So come with me, inhaling through the nose. And as you exhale, return to this root here and feel the inhale as you contract in and you lift up towards the rib cage, and you feel this ripple and lift through the body. You can feel that deep engagement already down here. So continue with this when you let a natural inflation happen on the inhale. And then as you exhale, and I'm using my hands here to sort of show you that lovely wave-like motion. And if you're exhaling out the nose through this portion, then really think about the vibration and the noise coming from deep down here, your solar plexus and your root, and then rising up through the body and then coming out. So continue with this breath while I just explain a little bit further, a little bit more intricate. The deep core line, this continuous line, starts all the way down here in your arches. Yes, that's true. And then it comes up here through your inner thighs, pelvic floor, all the way around, and the tongue is at the very top. So when you have the lioness breath of, you can feel this connection and this engagement all throughout your body. And this being your core, and thinking of that being your core, that is where we're fiercely working in and then out. So take a nice inhale and a nice exhale. And with this breath and this movement and this lovely fluid flow we have going, let's inhale the arms up. Exhale, lifting through the core, bring them through heart center, and then bring your right hand over and tented fingers. I like a good tented fingers to the side. Feel the softness in the elbow, and then from here, inhale and wave. This movement through the body. From here, exhale, come across as you're lifting up through your core. Find a draped arm. You can even use your fingers here like you're I don't know, letting go of some glitter over you all the way around in these circles. Inhaling and exhaling as you're coming across. And this time you can use the ground and this movement. Lovely circles, arm circles, getting that mobility through the shoulder, but with a nice bent elbow. Not overstretching as you come over, and then exhaling, lifting and coming round. Just a little wave and push, so you're not going to your full capacity, your full stretch. You are, as we come over to the other side, feeling that opposite hip going into the ground, arm stretching, and then again come around. I like these because it really warms up through the shoulder rather. And then come round and round. So you're lifting through the core, and you can push off and just feel that lightness. So you're not falling into the arms. Sometimes there's a temptation when the hand's on the ground to sort of just collapse in. We're still lifting up, actually through both sides of the body. The body is holding us up here, and then come all the way around and take a wave. You can place your hands on your thighs and roll through the shoulders. And then maybe take a little bit more. I love a wave through the body, getting away from this rigid, finding that natural flow through the body, and then maybe taking it into a smaller and experimenting with a bigger. And then finding a nice even place, maybe a shimmy on the sits bones. Inhale out, exhale, hands at heart center. And then we're going to do some twisting. So bear in mind that the lower spine doesn't want to do this twisting. We are most mobile from our heart up, particularly the head being the most. So having our hands here reminds us to move from the heart, lifting up. So inhale, exhale, take your heart and twist over to the right, lifting through the core first. So the action's coming from the central body, and then you can take the head all the way around. Inhale, center. Exhale, lifting from the core, supporting that lower back, and then coming over to the other side. So not big twisting or yanking or forcing in any way. We're just lightly waking the body up through this whole axis, this central axis. Inhales up, exhales, this reminder here. It's really nice to have a physical reminder by having your hands here. It can often help. Same as when you breathe, if you put your hands on the belly, one more each side to the right. When you put your hands on the belly, sometimes with inflation and deflation, you can really feel that physical connection. I strongly advise that as we're learning to move through these poses, and just take a little wave. Place your hands on your knees for a moment and feel a little resistance there. Inhale, come around. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. It's this nice little isolation here. So inhaling, the chest is coming forward. As you exhale, that lift is happening from the core, and then that takes you round and takes you around the back. Now here's the trick with the back. So you're still lifting. It's not a curling in and releasing. I know that's an exaggeration, but you're pushing down on the sits bone, so grounding down, and then there's this doming that happens in the upper back, breathing through those shoulder blades, and then coming around that side. I did that very slowly just to show you. So inhaling, as you exhale, you're kind of stirring the pot, but you're coming around on this axis. Sit bones are attached to the ground, and you're coming round. And then the other way. So nice and slow at first. And it's nice to feel how different sides have really different places where you may think, oh yeah, sticky there, it's a little bit more tricky on this way, and the other way. We all tend to have that dominant side that we may rely on more. So just work into different possibilities, different opportunities. Each moment, each side brings around a new opportunity, and then come into center. And I always encourage a little wave and movement so that we're not these rigid moves. That's what I love about this practice, is there's always the opportunity, and it's very much encouraged to find this wave. Our bodies are very fluid, and so we want to keep that flow through our body. Coming into this kind of seated, I guess, kind of like a cat-cow, if you will. Hands again, the little resistance provides a nice movement here. So hands, inhale, will scoop forward. So chest is leading, head is in line with spine. And on the exhale, As you start to come back there, feel the sits bones ground in and lifting up through that core. There's that core lift. You start to come back, and then again that doming. You may find that your knees just lift a little bit here because all of this action is lifting, right? So inhale, you swooping forward, leading with that heart. And then as you exhale, start all the way down in that root, lifting up, 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 and then shh. So one more just like that. This is nice to practice anytime. Really nice to open through the chest, especially if you've been sitting a lot during the day, as this happens in the computer, and then come back. Come back into center. Now you can continue with this if that's feeling really nice and in a good place, or you can take it a little further by bringing those arms in as you inhale and lean forward up to the sky. Maybe grab some energy and sunshine. Visualization's always encouraged. And then pulling down fists of fire as you come down towards those hips and you push and lean up. Now just then my knees came up, not because I lifted them, but because my abdominals, lower pelvic floor was all lifting, core lift was happening. And my knees had no choice but to follow along. Inhale. So start by lifting, start to ground down. So you're pushing through those sits bones as you're lifting up through your torso. And then those fists of fire, the power that you're bringing into your center. So again, really think about what you're doing. So as you're lifting all the way up, and hands can come here, find a place that works, shoulders, try to avoid the earring aspect, them up here. And then as you bring them down, you can feel lift, 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 lift. This strength even in the arms that you're starting to activate. Everything lifts up and you've got this lovely support throughout your whole body. Come all the way down. Let's take another wave again. If you haven't done this before, sometimes the hip flexors will just like cling in and compress to help with the lower abdominals. So we just have a little wave, get a little freedom in between. Bringing our hands behind us with tinted fingers and then uncross the feet for a moment. Now you can stay right here. Great place to start as we learn this lovely position and the lifting. So again, you're bending your knees, which is that softening. You're bending your elbows. There's a softness in the elbows, and there's a grounding, which is your tailbone going into the ground, and then a lifting. So pushing the sit bones into the ground, and then you lift up. Magnetize those toe mounts together, and then push those sit bones down, lift through the core, and then you can express out. Keep a softness in the knees. So you've got this bow pose. As you inhale, as you exhale, lift through the core and lift up. And just a couple of these. I love to add these into the practice to get a little stimulation through the core. So feeling with the toe mountain magnetizing together fires up those inner thighs. Come all the way down, cross those feet again, and let's take another little moment. And as you progress through, that can be lifted up with hands off the ground, and then you can pulse in and out, lower. There are variations of it, but that's the foundation of that movement. Swoosh your feet from underneath you and come onto all fours. First things first with positioning. You want to think about pushing through every fingertip. I like to just, it's like I'm playing the piano. I go from the pinky and then press them all in and then press the ring of the palm and really feel the ground beneath me. That's going to be my point of contact as well as the tops of my feet. And then think about your shoulders. Rather than stacking them all the way over the wrist or even further, in fact, when you do that, you can see the creases in your wrist really get very small there. You can see lots more creases. So we want to give our wrists some nice space. So back the shoulders away from the wrist, push through the fingertips, make sure the knees are nicely back and you find your position. Just check in with the softness here. So nice, soft bend, the elbows pushing into the ground. So the softening, the grounding, and then on your inhale, slide your hips back. Make space in this runway to give yourself all of that freedom. And then on the exhale, pushing the tops of the feet, the fingertips and the ring of the palm of the hands, bent elbow, and then lifting from that core. There's that core lift as you're exhaling and you're coming in. And then as you push into the ground, you breathe into the shoulder blades. Inhale, slide it back. You can look straight ahead, and as you exhale, you're bending and softening, you're pushing into the earth, and then you're lifting up through the core and coming into a dome there. So like when you were seated and you were coming back, you are then breathing into that back body. As you exhale, lift the front body, lift the core so it's then supporting. And then there's this wave, head is in line with spine, and then you come in. Come into neutral here. Inhale, slide everything back. This time, tuck your toes. So this is going to take us, our exhale is going to take us all the way up and back into downward facing dog. So as you inhale and slide back, as you exhale, push in, lift up through the core, still softness in the elbows, softness in the knees, and remain in that softness, that bent knee as you exhale and come up. So just take a little pedal, pedal, pedal here, high on those toe mounds. Keeping a bent knee allows your muscles to slowly warm into the movement. Get that body ready in the most holistic and organic way. So you can have a little play. You can even lift your hands and make sure that you're using those fingertips and the ring of the palm of the hand. Take a little wave here, and what do we mean by wave? So there's a softness in the elbows, there's a softness in the knees. I'm lifting through my body. Inhale, bend here. Exhale, push through the toe mounds. Push into the ring of the palm of the hands and the fingertips. And just take lifting up through the core. So from the ground, a little ripple. And inhale there. So finding your downward dog. Exhale, just a little mini wave through the body. Feel that wave through the body. And then come back. One more time. Inhale. All the way. And then come back. Come down on your knees just for a moment. You'll already feel probably triceps, arms, forearms, everything getting warmed up through there. Because as you bend through your joints and put the emphasis on the muscles really fire up and work. And you can feel that when you press through those fingertips, you can feel the movement through the arms. So find that position again, tuck those toes, bend your elbows, push into the earth. When you bend those elbows, you can feel that push lift up through the core, come back to this nice soft downward facing dog. This time we're going to take the mini wave into a full wave out to high plank. So a great way to get into a really good, dynamic, strong high plank. Great, great way because it's coming from the ground. Inhale, exhale, push through, feel it through the inner thighs. I'm going slowly for this one, and then you wave out to high plank. So here we are, shoulders are backing away from the wrists, head is in line with spine, head often wants to do this. So keep that, remember that's part of that line. Nice and lifted, core is lifted. Come down on your knees, come back again, and just rotate through the wrists. So we're going to go back into that a little faster. That's the slow version. So think about this wave. It's this organic wave through the whole body, all the way from the feet up and out, following that deep core line that I talked about earlier. So find all fours again. Position yourself, soften, ground into the earth, lift up through the core, and then cascade into a nice soft downward dog. Inhale, bend, soft knee, downward dog. Very strong downward dog, I should say, because it's nice and aligned. Inhale, bend, bend, bend. Find softness in the elbows from here. Pushing into the earth, lifting up through the core. Feel it ripple through the body. Visualize that wave come all the way out, head in line with spine. Knees down. Now this time, untuck your toes so the tops of the feet are on the mat. Make sure the shoulders are backed off. And you can see I'm in this kind of diagonal. My knees aren't all the way up here, but they're not all the way out. I place those knees down from the plank, and I'm in diagonal position, ready to come down into through the Chaturanga Dandasana. But this is a diagonal one, really much better, more core control, less pressure on the shoulders. So first things first, bend those elbows. Check if they're going out here or if they're going to in. Your elbows, just sit back for a moment while I explain. Your elbows should be tracking the same way as your hands. So if your hands were in, your elbows would be going out. If your hands were out, they would be going in. We're having them like a parallel position, so our elbows want to go in the same line. Good rule of thumb. Same with your feet and your knees. Tracking same direction, so nothing is twisting or overexerting. So come back to that position right here, head in line with spine. Inhale here, and as you exhale, bend your elbows. You're looking forward, you're lifting up through your core, and you're coming down with great control. So the elbows are coming along the side of the body, the pelvis is touching lower abdominals, lower rib cage. And see where we are, the shoulders are already lifted down the back, and the chest is already lifted in this position. From here, push back into child's pose again. For a moment, take a little movement. This is a higher child's pose, just for a little sway and movement. Come back. We're going to go through that a little bit faster, so come back into the downward dog. From here, bend here, exhale, push through the earth, roll out, find that nice high plank. Knees down, lift up, inhale, on the exhale. Looking forward, nice and controlled, pushing through the fingertips, lifting through the core, coming down, belly is down, and we're here. All ready for our cobra. So shoulders are nicely down the back, and you can feel the belly. This is a nice opportunity here to just do a little physical awareness with touching the ground. So inhale, inflate that belly, feel it inflate into the ground. As you exhale, lift that core and feel the belly, the front belly, move into the back body as it comes away from the mat. From there, start to lift and inhale with that belly lifted, come to a cobra. It can be here, find a place that works, but the important part is lifting the core away from the ground and protecting our lower back. Very often with cobra, there's a, and don't do this part I'm about to do, but there's this crunching back. And there's this compressing in the lower back. So to alleviate that and to help the lower back, you've got to lift this front core, and that will move into your lower back and give you support and allow a freedom of movement there. So find your position. Let's try that again. Inhale, inflate, let the belly fill. You can feel that physical connection. Connect with that. Exhale, lift away from the ground with your core, and then start to lift yourself up with that core lift going on. Inhale, find a place that works here, head in line with spine again, head might want to drop, and then from here pushing into the ground, lift up, that core lifts, and when you lift that core, you can feel the strength that you have through the center of your body. Come into a nice pedal downward facing dog. From here, bend the elbows and bend the knees, and take a few nice meditative steps up underneath your hips. So this is as far really as we want to go forward in the forward fold. We have a lot of space from hand to foot. Why? So that we have space to move through rather than crunching forward. So now everything is kind of condensed and crunched. Here we're right over heels, hips, knees, it's all nicely aligned. From here, with the softness and the bend in the knees, pushing through the heel, pushing through the toe man. You can sometimes just check in by lifting your toes up and seeing how much of it was clinging with your toes and how much is pushing through those heels, and allowing the activation through that arch. Remember, that's the beginning of the base of the deep core line. So now sway side to side. And as you can see, I'm kind of very lightly extending and bending and extending and bending through the legs, alternating. And you can let the head go a little bit here. Have this little moment of this mini inversion. And now from here, either hands in front of you, hands on your shins, hands on your thighs, or with trusty blocks up or here. You have so many options there, but you are going to wave. So you're going to push through here, push up, extend, start the grounding, and then core lifting, and inhale, roll out. Find a little flat back lift, halfway lift, head is in line with spine. And now from here, bend the knees, bend the hips back. Now, as you can see, I have all this space in front of me, and my knees and my hips are sliding back. So my knees are over my heels rather than coming forward, sliding everything back. I still have that lift through my back. And now from here, First time we're going to put our hands on our thighs above the knees, try to avoid the joint there. And now from here, push through your heels. Inhale, exhale, push into the heels as you start to unhinge from the hips and lift through the core. I'm doing this action to remind you that this is where the lift is coming. And then I like a little self-expression and wave, expressing out into mountain. So the key is sliding everything back and pushing up and lifting up. So inhale, we're in mountain. Exhale, now go the opposite way. So you're sliding back. And you can really feel this through your legs because we're going slow through this. Let's try that again. So wherever you feel comfortable with that lift, you wave out. Find your position. Exhale, bend everything back, slide back, push through the heels, and either using your hands to come up your thighs, or free of hands, and then just find a little self-expressive wave. Hands at heart center. Let's try that one more time. So inhale up a little bit faster now. Exhale, fold down. Hands to your position. Inhale, wave out. Exhale, bend and slide everything back. From there, lift through the core, push through the heels, and then come all the way up. Hands at heart center. From here, inhale, mountain. Exhale, slide everything back. Find that forward fold. Hands down. Inhale, wave out. Place your hands flat, bend those knees. Be nice and soft on the body as it's warming up. Step back to downward facing dog. Again, I like a little movement. It feels nice. Maybe you want to try a little bouncing action here, which is nice too as you progress, but find that softness in the elbows, find the softness in the knees. Inhale here. On the exhale this time, just take your knees over to the right. See, they're nice and bent. So you're kind of in this triangle side downward dog here. And just again, find that softness. Find the wave. Pushing into the earth gives you great power. When you push down, you can rise up. Pushing down, it's like when you're jumping, you need to push into the earth and bend and soften in order to get that power and rise. Come into center, find that nice bounce again. On your exhale, lifting through the core, slide your knees over to the left. So now you're on this left side and have a little play here. Again, you may notice there's a difference to both sides. There may be points where you have to breathe into a little bit more, but keep this breath going all the time. Inhale, come back to center. And then on your exhale, wave all the way out into that nice high plank. So see, there's still softness in the arms. They're not rigid and stuck and locked out. We want to keep that softness so that our muscles are controlled and working. We're nice and warm now. So on your exhale, try this again. Remember, elbows are coming down. We have a nice lift through our shoulders. Inhale, fill that body. Exhale, lift off the ground. And then come in and inhale, open through the heart, pushing into the earth, head in line with spine. From here, exhale, lift up. That front body lifts you. Tuck your toes, come all the way into downward facing dog. From here, inhale up and down. Now you can either step, take 2 steps to the middle of your mat, or if you feel like a little jump, then this is how you will go about it. You'll push into the earth. You'll find that point in front of you. See how much bouncing and action. The hips are coming up. I'm coming almost off the ground. But wherever we go on the exhale, step or jump, you're going to that same point, middle of the mat, underneath the hips, rather than all the way forward and crunching, more likely to fall. And here you have that lovely space. So take a forward fold. However you got there, you got there. And you keep trying different ways, building, but that's the foundation, right? This is what this is all about. Inhale, find that flat back. This time we're going to step all the way back, downward facing dog again. Bend in the inhale and send your right leg up. So from here, check in with those hips. Rather than opening the hip on this, we're keeping things facing to the ground. On your exhale, your knee is going to come to your chest. So I want you to bend your elbows. See how my elbows bend in, my knees bend in, everything is bending. So we're softening, we're grounding, pushing into the earth, and then we're lifting up through the core, knee up into the body. And from there, it gives us the spaciousness to step forward. Now this might not happen, and then you may have to tap or whatever to come. But the more you lift through this core, there is more space for you to step forward. So from here, first things first, check in. Train tracks, not tightrope. Foundation, nice and wide. Set yourself up with a good foundation. From here, bend that back knee and the front knee. You're going to go back and forward, head in line with spine, back and forward. So the hips are going back and forward, pushing through that front heel. And you're finding a nice central place somewhere between those feet. Your hips are nicely in the place where it feels right for your body. From here, inhale, unhinge and roll out. You can extend that back leg. Find that kind of flat back position that we had earlier. That same principle applies throughout. We're lifting through the core. Then from here, on your exhale, really important, bend into that back knee. And now from here, this first time we will put our hands on our thighs. Inhale here and then unhinge, just as you did before when you were coming up through chair to mountain. You're going to unhinge, lift through the core and come all the way up. Back knee bends allows for the hips to move more organically. They move back. There's spaciousness here and you'll come up with less of a compression in this lower back. From here, inhale, push into the earth and rise. On your exhale, that same fist of fire from earlier, ha! I love a good ha sound there. Feels like real warrior fierce stuff. But if you're not ready for that, just either out the mouth or out the nose. As you inhale, you push into the earth, you can extend. On the exhale, everything bends in as you lift up. So bending and softening and grounding and lifting up and expressing. From here, extend that back leg and lean forward. Core is still lifted away from thigh. Also check in. Knee is back from the heel. Bring those hands down, step out, and just take a moment here. Just pedal through the feet. You might want to rotate through the feet a little bit there, through the ankles. Shake things out. Going slower, you tend to hold things a bit more. In real time, you'll be moving faster through these poses, but we're getting the foundations here. Out to high plank, knees down, untuck, and then lifting, chest, coming down, lifting through the core, coming all the way down. Inhale here, lifting up, find that cobra. From there, exhale, lift the core up, tuck the toes, come all the way back. From here, inhale, bend in, send the left leg high this time. Check in with those hips. On the exhale, pushing into the earth, softening through all the joints as you come in and then lift up through the core, and that lifts those hips up so there's height. And then place that left foot down. Find your foundation. From there, back and forward. A little back and forward, not overdoing it, but finding that central place. From there, inhale, push through the back foot, extend and find this length. Exhale, bend that back knee. From there, you can use your hands on your thigh, but you're lifting up and unhinging and lifting, 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 lifting. So those hips nicely aligned. Belly is away from that front thigh. Inhale, extend up. You guessed it, same thing on this side. Exhale, ha! Notice my knee is back from my heel. Inhale, high. Exhale, ha! Why is that? Same as the shoulders over the wrists. Spaciousness, it's much better for the knees. Ha! Inhale, extend for a moment, all the way forward. Find that length. Hands down. Step back, downward facing dog. A little pedal here. Inhale, bend everything. Exhale, roll all the way out to high plank. Knees down, lift up, head in line with spine. Find that diagonal. Push through the fingertips. Lift through the core. It's a lot of things to think about, but they start to become very natural because it feels such a natural flow. Inhale, lift up. Exhale. Come all the way back to child's pose this time. Come up on those forearms and just move through your hips. Take a little wave here. So even though we went through that very slowly, it gives you the setup at the beginning of the vinyasa flow. It gives you the idea of how we're getting into poses. There's a softening of the joints. There's a grounding into the earth. And then from there, using the power of the earth, which is pretty strong, lifting up through the core, through that deep core line, the whole body. And then you can express out. Inhale here. And now on your exhale, lifting through that core again, come all the way up. Sitting on top of your hips. Now, if this is uncomfortable, you can put a block in between, or you can even come up here. There's also the option of sitting with your feet like this, which is really nice for just getting some movement through the sole of the foot, especially the arches. It's a little uncomfortable for me, for my toe, so I'm going to sit like this, but all of those poses are available. I want you to inhale your arms up, and as you exhale, feel your periphery here, but really take a nice moment to go through, roll your wrists, find that nice expansion through the chest. Inhale. I like to do these 3 times just because it feels really nice. I like the number 3 and it feels very organic to me. Inhale, exhale. Really nice to rotate through the wrists. We were on the wrists a lot just then. And then come all the way around. Now, a nice open chest expansion. I'm going to just face this way for a moment to show you. As you come down from the rotation of the wrists, clasp your hands together but with an open palm, right? Because the hands have been this way in plank and downward dog for a while. So now we're trying to counter pose and get a nice stretch across the other way. So from here, hands are nice and open. You can ease those fingers away from one another. And I'll turn this way for a moment. So the same thing applies. Rather than a thrust, don't do that, a thrust, it's a lifting. Again, it's coming from here. There's a lifting. When this is lifted and all supported, and then you can open up. And that applies with anything that is like this, that is more of a back bend and opening. You want to lift up, support, and then find this nice stretching and expansion and lengthening across the chest. So from here, inhale, exhale, lift up, and then let that come into a nice chest expansion here. Feel a nice opening through the chest. Now, if that feels too intense, you can bring your hands right here behind the back. You can place them here and just have a little opening. Find something that just allows for this part of your body, the chest, to find a nice opening. I like this because, as I said, you get that extra benefit of the wrist having been the other way. And just take a moment either out the mouth or out of the nose, releasing any tension, and then just very gently shake the hands out and swoosh your feet from underneath you. Bring your feet all the way around. And then just come to your fingers facing forward here. Let everything, just let these feet dangle and just give them a little love and attention, a little vibration and action. Then cross your legs over in an easy pose and find a little wave. This time maybe take your hands side to side. I'm going to turn around to face you. So you're reaching a little further, the body's nice and warm. And come back into center and find your position here. Back in easy pose. It's really good to just check in and come back to these to remind yourself of how we move, how we transition, because it's not about running to the next pose, to the next pose, to the next pose. It's all a practice. It's all, every step you take is a mindful step and has a purpose and a meaning to help you get to where you are, to set yourself up for that success in your practice from day to day. And it is a practice. Sometimes you feel like going fast, sometimes you feel like going slow, but always you want to make sure that you have the foundation, so it's good to just step back, backing off to go deeper, as it were. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's helped with some of the foundational stuff and the basics, and I will continue to post these little pieces so you can really delve deep into the whole beautiful process of the core strength vinyasa flow. Have a beautiful day.